History is filled with conquerors, men who built empires, men who commanded massive armies, men whose names echoed across continents. But among them all, one figure stands apart. A king who never lost a battle. A commander who defeated armies larger than his own again and again. A man who conquered most of the known world before reaching the age of 33. His name was Alexander, and more than 2,000 years later, history still remembers him by a title that no other ruler has truly surpassed: Alexander the Great. But the story of Alexander is not simply the story of conquest. It is the story of ambition, of risk, of brilliance, and of a dream so enormous that it changed the ancient world forever. Because long before he became a legend, Alexander was just a boy who believed he was destined to achieve something extraordinary. And unlike most dreamers, he proved it. To understand Alexander, we must begin in the Kingdom of Macedon, a rugged land north of Greece. At the time, many Greeks viewed the Macedonians as outsiders, less civilized, less sophisticated, not quite Greek. But that perception was changing rapidly, because Macedon had a king unlike any before him. His name was Philip was one of the most brilliant military innovators of the ancient world. He transformed Macedon's army into a disciplined fighting machine. He introduced new tactics, new formations, and new weapons. Among them was the famous Macedonian phalanx, rows upon rows of soldiers carrying enormous spears called sarissas. Together, they formed what appeared to be an impenetrable wall of steel. Under Philip's leadership, Macedon grew stronger with every passing year, and watching it all unfold was his young son, Alexander. Alexander was born in 356 BC. From the beginning, stories surrounded his birth. Ancient writers claimed that strange signs and omens appeared before he entered the world. Whether those stories were true or not, one thing is certain. People quickly realized that Alexander was different. He was intelligent, curious, fearless, and intensely competitive. He hated being second at anything. As a child, he listened to stories of heroes and warriors. Among them, one figure captured his imagination more than any other: Achilles, the legendary warrior of the Trojan War. Alexander admired him so deeply that he would carry a copy of Homer's Iliad throughout much of his life. To him, Achilles was more than a hero. He was a model, proof that greatness could outlive death itself. Alexander wanted the same thing: not merely power, not merely wealth, immortality through history. His education reflected his father's ambitions. Philip wanted his son prepared for leadership, so he hired one of the greatest minds in history. For several years, Aristotle taught the young prince philosophy, science, medicine, literature, politics. Alexander absorbed everything. The lessons expanded his understanding of the world, but they also fueled his curiosity. He became fascinated by distant lands, foreign peoples, unknown cultures, places beyond the horizons of Greek maps. One day, he hoped to see them himself. Yet books were only part of Alexander's education. The battlefield was the other. His father ensured that he learned warfare firsthand. Alexander accompanied military campaigns, observed commanders, studied tactics, learned how armies moved, how battles were won, and how they were lost. Then came an incident that would become one of the most famous stories of his youth. A powerful horse was brought before King Philip. No one could control it. The animal kicked, buckled, and threw off every rider who attempted to mount it. Philip ordered it removed, but Alexander stopped him. The young prince had noticed something. The horse was frightened by its own shadow. Turning the animal toward the sun, Alexander calmed it. Then he climbed onto its back. Moments later, he was riding it successfully. The crowd watched in amazement. According to legend, Philip embraced his son and declared, "My boy, you must find a kingdom large enough for your ambitions. Macedon is too small for you." The horse became Alexander's companion. Its name was Bucephalus, and together they would ride into history. As Alexander grew older, his abilities became impossible to ignore. At 16, while Philip campaigned elsewhere, Alexander was left in charge of the kingdom. Most teenagers would have struggled under such responsibility. Alexander thrived. When a rebellion broke out, he acted immediately. The uprising was crushed, order was restored, and the young prince proved that he was capable of ruling. 2 years later, he fought beside his father in one of the most important battles of the era. The Battle of Chaeronea. A coalition of Greek city-states attempted to stop Macedon's rise. The battle would determine the future of Greece. Alexander commanded part of the Macedonian army. Despite his youth, he played a crucial role in the victory. The Greek alliance was defeated. Macedon emerged as the dominant power in Greece. Alexander had experienced his first major battlefield success. It would not be his last. Then came a shocking event. In 336 BC, King Philip was assassinated. The circumstances remain mysterious even today. What mattered was the result. Philip was dead, and 20-year-old Alexander suddenly became king. The transition was dangerous. Enemies surrounded him. Rivals questioned his legitimacy. Many believed the young ruler would fail. Across Greece, several cities saw an opportunity to break free from Macedonian control. It was exactly the kind of crisis that could destroy a new king. Alexander responded with astonishing speed. He secured support within Macedon, eliminated potential threats, and marched south before opposition could organize. The message was clear. The son intended to be every bit as formidable as the father. When the city of Thebes rebelled, Alexander acted decisively. His army surrounded the city. The rebellion was crushed. The destruction shocked the Greek world. After witnessing what happened to Thebes, few were willing to challenge him. Alexander's position was secure. For the first time, all of Greece stood under his leadership. Now he could focus on something much bigger, the goal his father had never lived long enough to achieve: the invasion of Persia. At the time, the Persian Empire was the greatest power on earth. Its territory stretched across 3 continents. Its wealth was legendary. Its resources seemed limitless. Its king ruled over millions of subjects. For generations, Persian armies had dominated the ancient world. Most leaders would have viewed such an empire as untouchable. Alexander viewed it as a challenge. In the spring of 334 BC, he crossed the Hellespont into Asia. He brought roughly 40,000 soldiers. Compared to the resources of Persia, it was a relatively small force. But Alexander possessed something numbers could not measure: confidence. He believed he could win, and perhaps more importantly, his soldiers believed it too. As they marched into Asia, few could have imagined that they were witnessing the beginning of one of the greatest military campaigns in human history. The young king was 22 years old. Ahead of him lay deserts, mountains, empires, and battles that would determine the fate of the ancient world. The conquest had begun.